qui in diretta con il mitico Vinnie Moore.
I hear lots of people. Are you 6 feet apart?
Thank you for be here for this
Thank you. It's great to be talking to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So first of all, I would like to ask you about this situation, this past situation about the COVID-19, and what kind of life you did in this lockdown.
Right. For a lot of people, it's different because they're stuck being home and they're used to going to work every day. For me, if I'm not touring, if I'm off tour, I usually stay at home a lot and work from home, recording in my studio. So it's not a whole lot different for me. So while the world's been closed down, I've just been doing some projects around the house, that I've been meaning to get to for years and I haven't been able to get to. Finally, I found some time. And now I'm just to the point where I'm finished all that stuff and I'm going to start getting back into creating some new music, and I'm working on videos for my last record. So, starting to get back into professional things again. But we had a lot of tour dates this year that are gone now, move back to next year. So, unfortunately, it would have been great to be on the road, and we lost a lot of good festivals and stuff in the summer. But hopefully we get them next year.
Ok. Adesso lascio la parola a Emiliano, che ha suonato con lui per 2 tour come chitarrista ritmico, e ci risentiamo dopo.
Sì, io chiaramente ho suonato con Vinnie. Siamo tornati dall'ultimo tour a febbraio, quindi proprio pelo, diciamo, prima del lockdown qui in Italia, e già ero stato in tour con lui 2 anni prima, nel 2018, quindi io e Vinnie ci conosciamo abbastanza bene. Lo ringrazio ancora per aver accettato, insomma, il nostro invito. And Vinnie, just want to ask you the water. Just want to ask you something about your influence and your influence in music, of course, and and when you start to realize that your music and your stuff could be are really interesting, really good in the business marketing of music, of course.
Well, I grew up listening to all the typical stuff like the Beatles, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Leonard Skinner, all the stuff that was pretty popular at the time. And I got my first guitar for Christmas one year. I believe I was almost 13. I was 12 years old. And, I was really into learning. And it was pretty much because of like Ritchie Blackmore and Jimmy Page that I got a guitar. Mm-hmm. And at first, I just played a little bit here and there, but I began to get more and more serious about it and obsessed with it. And at a certain point, I knew this is what I would love to do, and I'm going to try to make this my career.
And you told me a story about a concert, if I remember well, a concert of Alan Osborne and Steve Morse, right? That you saw.
Yes.
Yeah, you could talk about this.
That was in Philadelphia. I went, actually, those guys did 2 shows in one night. I believe I caught the first show maybe, and Holdsworth came out and he was just so amazing. I was sitting like could lean on the stage. I was so close. The table, I would touch the stage. Mm-hmm. And he just blew me away. But after like 10 minutes, it was so much for me. My mind couldn't take it anymore. It's like, I was overwhelmed with like what he was doing. It was so overwhelming, so amazing. And then Morse came out and he was just totally a groover. The music was real driving and grooving, and he played amazingly well. And that concert was like definitely a big inspiration for me as a kid, like mostly it was like, wow, I'll never be able to play like these guys.
Yeah. And
but try to get better and better.
Yeah, sure. And what about your first record? in the 87 yet, Mind's Eye. You told me that you were called to do an audition for a band, right?
I played on the record, the Vicious Rumors record, which was Shrapnel Records.
Yeah.
And that was the first recording project. And then after that, Shrapnel started to talk to me about doing a solo record. Yeah. And eventually that became Mind's Eye. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what about the process?
Process.
Okay, sorry. To composing music. Okay? You where do you get inspired, and what came out a song? Okay, what's a song came out?
Yeah, I've been doing it. I've been writing songs for maybe 35 years now, and I still don't know really any more about it or how you do it or where it comes from. All I know is that if I sit around with a guitar and play, eventually something will come to me. I'll feel something and being inspired. And it's really hard to say where it comes from, but for me, it's usually a feeling thing. I feel something, and that seems to kind of channel itself through the guitar in what I write. And, the more and more you do it, the more you hone your skills and you get better at it. But how do you write a song? I don't know. And you just do it. And you could sit me down right now with a guitar. I might come up with something really good. I might come up with something not so good. So it's just one of those things where you just keep at it and keep doing it, and you're going to get some good music. Just learning and finding your own way.
But you have something like visions to have the, I don't know, teams to play on the guitars. You think about something, or it just came out free?
It usually comes out when I'm noodling on the guitar.
Oh, okay.
If I try to write a song, that doesn't necessarily mean I can write a song. I could sit around for a week playing and not come up with anything that feels right to me. I just don't feel inspired. And then all of a sudden, there's a light bulb switches on, and there's an idea that I really feel. I feel it, the emotion. And then usually for me, once I get that first idea, then the floodgates open up, and then I start getting all kinds of ideas related to that initial idea. And often I get too many ideas for one song, and I have to kind of like edit myself.
Yeah.
So it's either we call it feast or famine.
Oh, yeah. But you sing your own melodies before write down and play with the guitar? Because
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I hear things in my head, and I try to figure it out on the guitar. And a lot of times I can, and sometimes I can't kind of come up with what I'm hearing in my head. It's too difficult. And then sometimes I come up with melodies just by playing the guitar. So it happens. There's no one correct way. It happens all different kind of ways for me.
Okay, because I always find your music and so easy to remember, because your melodies is so singable, yeah. Is one of my favorite of the Maids, and is a really great mix for me from melody and technique, of course, because your song is so hard to to play.
Oh man, thank you.
Yeah, and
I was going to say, I think in themes and songs, it's not like let's play 3 chords and just go crazy jamming over it. I like to, create an organized song, and that's kind of naturally where I gravitate.
And what about the kind of music? Because the first records is more neoclassic, yeah, and then your last record that we play is more like a song that have a chorus, and yeah, well, what is the process, and what is your okay, sorry for my pronunciation, and you just have a time when you change your style, or is develop in the years?
It happened naturally over the course of many years. When I write songs for a record, I never like have a preconceived idea of what it's going to be. I just kind of, as I said, pick up the guitar and I write, and whatever comes out, comes out. And yeah, the early stuff was more in the classical vein, that kind of influence. And over the years, I think as I've grown, I've shown more and more of what I'm into stylistically. Where in the early days, I only showed like one shade of what I do. And so I'm happy now that I'm showing much more of a wider, from a wider lens, much more of a wide perspective.
And I want to ask you something about the sound, of course, your sound, because I want to tell not a story, but we are here in the MMA room last January, and we rehearse your song, right?
Right.
And you have to play with an amp that you never played, the Mezza Barba, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I hear you that try the first channel with a distortion pedal, or the second channel more drive, and you ask me, oh, what is better? And I think that it is always your sound. Okay, because you don't have the sound, you don't know the sound of the amp, but it's the same. So how do you think is a great thing to maybe a young guitar player that wants to be always with one sound? Okay, so I have my sound. I have to have my sound, and because I think is a typical thinking of the new generation. I have to play with my amp. I have to play with my stuff, and always change the sound. And you came here and play 1 amp, 2 amp, 3 amp. Always have your sound. You think is good to a guitar player change something, or play always with one thing?
Well, first off, thank you. I think that's kind of like a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing to always have my tone, but sometimes in the studio, I'm struggling to get something totally different, and it's not happening. And I'm thinking, why does it still sound like my sound? How can I change it a little bit? I remember Eddie Van Halen saying the same thing. Like he tried a bunch of different, played through Ted Nugent's rig on tour, and it sounded just like Eddie's sound, with Ted Nugent's guitar and amp. So I'd say it's a good thing most of the time. And sometimes it's aggravating, but I don't know how that happens. I guess, you just kind of practice, and you just kind of naturally start to develop your own thing. And yeah, of course, it depends a lot on the technical things, like how you dial in your amp, the settings, and how you hear things, and your touch has a lot to do with it. How hard you play, the pressure with your left hand, all that stuff means something in the equation.
Okay, right. Because I think one of many of my students are afraid to play with something that they don't know. They say, oh. And instead, I think that is a good practice. Because for me, yes, of course,
guitar players.
Yes, of course, I have my favorite amp, my favorite sound, but I have to explore.
Exactly, yeah, explore different things, and you're never going to go up and guest jam with somebody and have your rig. There's always going to be times where you have to play somebody else's guitar and another amp. So you just think about the music and you just play. You play the notes.
Mm-hmm. I think
it's always like security. There's a security, a sense of security in the way you feel, having your own rig, and just knowing everything's right when you go on stage and your guitar's going to feel comfortable. And, you know, I always have to have a delay and a wah-wah, even if I don't use it. Like, it has to be there. It's like a psychological thing. Like, oh no, if it's not there, the world's going to end. You know, what will I do?
Yeah.
I think you need to believe in your hands.
Yeah, that's true. Although there's always been the occasion where we go up on stage and we play through something that is so bad, and then you're just thinking about it too much and you're fighting with the sound, and then you don't think about the music and the notes you're playing anymore. So that can kind of throw you off.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Vinny, Francesco Caporaletti, say hi to you.
Hey, Richard Beer.
And there is a guy that wrote from Australia, and he would like to ask you, I still play Mind's Eye regularly and still love it like when it came out. How did you came up with your signature extreme palm muting? It still gives me goosebumps.
Oh man, thank you, from the land down under.
Yeah.
I first heard that technique from Al Di Meola, actually. He did that a lot. And pretty much, I think he's the first guy I heard doing it. And I started like emulating him when I was learning to play guitar. And yeah, it got a little bit harder to do when I moved over to the Floyd Rose bridge. I have the problem a lot of times where the fine tuners kind of hit my hand right here. So it's slightly in the way, but I've learned to kind of adapt, you know, around that to make it work. But yeah, I love that sound and that technique.
Oh, cool. There is another one guy that says he considered The Maze one of the best shred album of ever. So,
oh wow, thank you.
And he said that is a mix of styles, really incredible. And what do you think about there will be a return of yourself playing neoclassical?
Well, first of all, thanks for the compliments, guys. I think I've paid these guys to say these things. So
it's called Stefano. It's called Stefano. So if you want to say hello to Stefano.
Hello, Stefano. You know, I never know what I'm going to do in the future, but I've done a lot of the neoclassical stuff. I mean, I constantly have people ask if I'm going to touch on that thing again. I don't think I would do an entire record in that direction, but maybe a song or two on a record. You know, I did quite a lot of it early on. My first two records, Mind's Eye and Time Odyssey, were pretty much neoclassical all over. And then, you know, I gravitated away from that for a while. And with The Maze and Defying Gravity, I kind of came back to that area and touched on it again. So you never know what's going to happen in the future, but everything's open. You know, but I have done 4 albums of a lot of that stuff. So I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. There is another question for you. Is from a student from Emiliano. This is called Luca Belmonte.
Yeah, from our school.
From our school. So he said, of course, he said hello to you, and he said, what do you think will be the next passage on coming back to live music for big festivals? And what a relative new player can do about it.
I wish I could. It's very frustrating, and man, what a weird place we're at in the world right now. I mean, whoever would have thought we could be here in this like post-apocalyptic reality? You know, I'm walking around with a mask, and sometimes I just kind of think to myself, wow, this is crazy. Everybody has a mask on, and nothing I ever would have dreamed of. So, but as far as the music, I really don't know, man. I'm just being optimistic and hoping for the best, that we can all get out there and play again, and people can get out there and watch concerts again. You know, it's not a good scenario, but hopefully we get through it. The sooner, the better.
Mm-hmm. And you will lucky, because here in Italy, during the lockdown, we need a paper. Yeah. To go to the market.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to buy food, something like this. I don't know if in America it's something like this.
One person per household, I guess.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Wow. Yeah,
Uh,
that would drive me crazy.
yeah, and we have another. Sorry, we have another question from Paolo. That will
Okay.
be maybe another student from our school, and he said, "What do you think about Jeff Beck? And if you
He's
have any
favorite
influence
players.
about him?"
I love Jeff Beck. He's been a huge influence. I got my first guitar again when I was like 12 years old, and I was just into rock bands. And I was listening to the radio one day, and there was an advertisement. Jeff Beck was coming in concert, and his music was playing in the background. And I heard it and went, wow, that's really interesting. It's when the Wired record came out, and I heard the Blue Wind in the ad. So I went out and I bought the Jeff Beck Wired record, and I've been a Jeff Beck man ever since. He's just talk about having your own sound and your own style and uniqueness. Like he's the guy, you could just tell right away. And I went to see him in concert maybe, I think it was like 15 or 20 years ago. He was opening for Carlos Santana. And before Jeff went on, the lights went black, and you knew there was some intro music playing, and you just heard one note. Like he turned up his volume and played a note, just probably to test that his rig was working. And in that one note, I was like, wow, that's Jeff Beck. I mean, I knew it with one note. It was crazy.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we have a guy from Mexico that say hi to you and me that saw us in Barcelona in 2018. So hi, man.
Oh, cool.
Good to see you.
What part of Mexico?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What a part of Mexico? No, I have to tell something about you at Max Sataki from Australia that asked you about your picking technique, and he has to know that you are left-handed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to play with like Vinnie, you have to change your arms.
Yeah, backwards. Yeah, I don't know why I play right-handed. I mean, when you first get a guitar, it feels unnatural either way. You know what I mean? You're starting from scratch pretty much. There's no advantage. So I just kind of picked it up as like a right-hander would.
Mm-hmm. So the guy is from Tijuana.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And I have another question. Yeah. I have another question, and is a real friend of us, is Rocco, that want to ask to you how it changed the way to composing with the UFO.
Yeah, I mean, usually when we start writing a UFO record, I know that I'm going to be writing rock songs, and I just start playing, and I use more of my straight ahead rock type of stuff. I know it's not a prog band, there's not a lot of complicated stuff. It's more of a straight ahead rock and roll thing. So I just kind of get myself in that mind frame and start writing. A lot of times the singer Phil will hear all my demos and pick the bluesier stuff. So we end up with a lot of bluesier stuff on the records. But I write a lot of different stuff, melodic rock, but he seems to really choose the blues a lot.
Okay. Yeah. And he asked if it's true that you give your guitars for Devolution of Distraction, the band.
Oh, yeah. I played a solo on one of their songs. I was hanging out with Mir once at Music Mesa in Germany, and we started talking about something at that point, and I ended up doing a solo on, I forget the name of the song. It's been a while now.
Okay. And we have to say hi to Stefano Luciano. He's watching us. Who is this? Is
he a real big guy?
Yeah. This with tattoo on his arms. You know him?
I miss him. Can't wait to see him again.
Yeah. We too. Ciao Stefano, facciamo salutiamo Stefano che è il nostro tour manager, è colui che organizza i tour di Vinnie qui in Europa. Quindi.
The man with the high pitch voice.
and he's personal friends with Padre Pia.
Yeah. So I think it could be the time to see the first video that we have is a video from last year that we play in Bochnia, in Poland. So the song is In Control. Vediamo se Vincenzo ce l'abbiamo, la possiamo mandare? Okay, so in 5 minutes we talk again.
Okay, great, thank you.
Eccoci.
Welcome back.
Great solo song, Emiliano. Very good.
Thank
I
you.
like the tone too. Very good.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
There is another question from Max from the faraway Australia. He said, was it exciting being under the Mike Varney wing? And was there camaraderie with Tony McAlpine?
it was a very exciting time period for me. You know, it was my start in the music business. So being like in the Shrapnel staple of artists was very exciting. And, you know, I was really happy at the time. And yeah, Tony and I hung out quite a lot because he played keyboards on the Mind's Eye record, my first record. Yeah. And so while I was out in California working on that record, Tony and I were hanging together, you know, a good amount of the time and jamming. And I stayed at his place, his apartment at the time. And yeah, we've started a friendship and still friends all these years later. In fact, we just toured Japan recently and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, okay, cool. Japan is always fun to touring, right?
Totally, yeah. Really good fans and really excited about music. And yeah, it's great to play for them.
And what is your friendship with Jordan Rudess, the keyboard player that played on your last record, yeah?
Yeah, he did a solo on my new record, Soul Shifter. You know, he's not known to do like country kind of stuff, and I put him on like a song that had like a country vibe to it, and it's called Gainesville Station. It's a song I wrote for Leonard Skinner guitarist Steve Gaines, who was one of my favorite players when I was growing up. And so hearing Jordan do like a piano solo on there is really cool. And basically I met him in like 1987. I went to a guitar show, might have been 86, I don't know. I went to a guitar show in New York City, and it was kind of like a mini NAMM show. And I'm walking and I see like this crowd of people, and I get closer, I hear this crazy keyboard, like somebody going nuts, playing this insane stuff. And I'm looking for this guy, and finally I find him. He's sitting on the floor with like this little miniature keyboard, some kind, I don't even know what it was, like mini keys. And he's sitting there on the floor, like just going nuts on this thing. And a crowd formed around him, and he's in the center of this crowd. And I was so impressed that I was like, man, I'd love to do something with you in the future. I'd love to have you on one of, you know, my songs or a record, whatever. And he ended up playing on the Time Odyssey record, which was my second record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, we've also been friends over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. There is another question, but feel free to answer because he's here. But his student asked, how did you and Emiliano met?
Through a mutual friend we've just talked about, Stefano. And Stefano introduced me to Emiliano and his music, and I'm quite impressed with his playing and his knowledge of music. And what amazes me, don't listen, Emiliano, is that he's so accomplished at such a young age. You know, just amazing this guy's playing on this level. You know, when I first met you, you were like 21 or something?
Yeah, maybe 22, yeah.
Oh, okay. It's pretty insane.
And now I'm 2,
Exactly.
Yeah, io magari rispondo anche in italiano alla domanda. Chiaramente io e Vinnie ci siamo conosciuti due anni fa, perché ho cominciato a lavorare appunto con la produzione di Stefano Luciano, e ci siamo conosciuti come turnista, diciamo. Io sono entrato nella sua band come un turnista, però poi si è creata un'amicizia che ci ha portato poi a collaborare anche nell'ultimo tour, e speriamo anche nei futuri, chiaramente, quando si potrà ricominciare a suonare dal vivo.
I think you can ask him some money.
Yeah, I'll pay you.
Sounded so much more eloquent coming from you when you said it compared to when I said it.
And I want to ask you something about your experience with Alice Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was working on a record called Meltdown. I believe it was 1990. And as we were in the studio, I heard from my manager that Alice was looking for a guitar player, a bass player, and maybe a drummer. And we happened to be on the same record label at the time. Well, I was Relativity, he was Epic, but Relativity was part of Epic. So someone recommended me and my band to Alice's people. And that's when I first became aware that he was looking for somebody. And as it turns out, me and my bass player, Greg Smith, ended up joining the band for the Hey Stupid tour. And at first, it started out as just me playing on the record. I actually drove to Bearsville Studios in Bearsville, New York, and one day and played on 2 songs for that Hey Stupid record. And, I thought that was pretty much it. And then they asked me to join the band for the tour and also my bass player. And that's how it all came about. And it was just such a great experience, being on the road and hanging with Alice. And I was a fan of his when I was a kid. So, it was quite an honor and very cool for me at that age to be a part of that.
Yeah, really cool. Really cool. You have something? Oh, just let me check if we have the surprise. Just wait.
In the meantime, looking for the surprise, how do you approach the studio working in the studio?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the studio right now, and I kind of just come in here and start recording my songs. And, in the old days, you used to do demos of everything, and then you'd go back in the studio and recreate the demo. And that used to be frustrating for me to try to recreate like some of the magic that happened quite naturally and organically, when I first record a song or a part. But now the technology is so good that everybody has a studio in their house, and I can go in and create something and play for the first time. And that initial magic that I capture, I can put that on the record, and later have a drummer play to my track or whatever. I have the option to kind of do both things, to record new stuff or keep something I've already recorded if I feel like there's something special about it. And I just come down here and I spend a lot of time here, and things just kind of start to evolve and happen naturally.
Okay, is you a Pro Tools user or Cubase or Logic?
I use Cubase. I have Pro Tools 10 also, and I've used that once for a project, but I've just been a Cubase guy for years, and I really love it. I like Steinberg products a lot.
Okay. That's cool.
You mix your own stuff?
No, I mean, I've toyed with the idea of doing that many times, but I'm still not at the point where I think I'm good enough to do it, and I don't trust myself. So at some point, it's kind of good to hand it off to someone else and let like an outside perspective kind of come in and help you. Because usually when you record something, you've been through the writing process, the recording process. By the time it's time to mix, you've heard it so many times, 1,000 times, you start to kind of lose the perspective and you get lost in a little bit. So it's good to like kind of trust somebody else and hand it off to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And what about your feeling, your different feeling to do with your own band, so your own stuff, playing your own stuff, and the UFO? You change your feel about live. You have to warm up more when you play your own stuff, or is different?
It's pretty much the same for me. I mean, my comfort zone is getting to the gig at least an hour before showtime, having a guitar in my hand, maybe have a coffee, being able to relax and get in the right mind frame. And, the solo show is a little bit more demanding because it's just me, like 100% of the time playing melodies, whereas with the band, I'm playing rhythms more, which kind of like makes it easier. But I just find if I have that hour to just get inside my own head a little bit and feel comfortable, get in the zone, get my fingers warmed up, it's really about the same kind of warm-up regimen with both.
So anyway, you prefer to warm up a lot or just have a connection with fans and something like that?
I like to have whatever time I need to warm up, and a part of it's psychological. You know, I've been in scenarios where I'm like rushing to a gig, we're late, and then I start to get nervous and I feel anxiety, and that's not a good frame of mind. You know, and I've done things like that where I show up and go on stage 5 minutes later and have a great show. So that just goes to show you that it's all really psychological and in your head. But, you know, I just prefer to be comfortable and relaxed before I go on. So that really just means getting a guitar and getting into a, you know, somewhat quiet space and, you know, getting ready.
Yeah.
Mandiamo un pezzo così capiamo.
No, aspettiamo un attimo la sorpresa. L'ultima. And you have some suggestion for the next generation of guitar player?
And sorry, you have something like a name of this new guitar player that you appreciate?
New players. Well, Emiliano is one of the new good players.
Of course.
Another guy from Italy, the young kid, Matteus Mancuso, is it?
Mancuso, yeah.
Yeah, he's an incredible player. It's so refreshing to see him play. Guys that have been around for a while, like Guthrie Govan, Ron Thal, really good. But it's exciting to see new guitar players like actually really playing their instrument again. And there's this whole thing with female guitar players are shredding. And that's really good to see. Because for a while, actually playing guitar solos in a song kind of became uncool, you know, and the grunge thing and all the alternative stuff was happening. And it was like really kind of like frustrating to hear guys who couldn't play really well, and you know, it wasn't even like cool to play guitar. And now I'm seeing a resurgence of young players coming out that are really into like exploring their instrument and really pushing the boundaries again, doing some interesting, exciting things.
Yeah. So we are ready for the surprise.
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Thanks.
Okay.
You came out in 1, 2, 3. Let's check if
is it Pavarotti?
Yeah.
I can't see. Who is it?
VINNIE.
Roberto.
the ghost of Roberto.
I can't see him, but I hear the voice.
Ciao, Robby.
VINNIE, I can hear you.
How are you? Good to talk to you.
Robby, noi non ti vediamo, ma ti sentiamo.
He's in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, how are you, man?
Hi, how are you?
How have you been? Are you practicing?
I'm recording now.
Oh, perfect. That's awesome.
Do you remember the Tiffany?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah. Now we are recording a new album.
Nice. Very good. Good luck with that.
How are you?
How do you know which one to hit?
I can hear.
Oh, sorry. I said there's so many drums. How do you know which one to hit?
Oh, yeah. Yes. You're okay, VINNIE?
Say again?
You're okay?
Yes, very good. Thank you. Holding out well.
Guys.
Ragazzi, ovviamente Roberto è il batterista della band di Vinnie Moore ormai da 10 anni?
Yeah, sì, sì.
Anche di più, quindi insomma l'abbiamo invitato di buon cuore, chiaramente. Quindi infatti è il batterista che avete visto sul video precedente quando abbiamo suonato in Polonia lo scorso gennaio. Come stai, Robby?
Bene, bene ragazzi, voi come state?
Bene.
Ma non diamoci del voi, diamoci del tu, dai.
Non ho capito, non ti sento, non vi sento benissimo. Non vi sento bene.
Using this espresso maker that he gave me, making the
Yeah.
espresso.
We have some latency.
Okay,
What's going on
yes.
with espresso? What's going on with espresso, Vinny?
I try to drink it a few times a week. I love it. Un dopo mio favore.
Okay. Okay.
i giovani.
Great, great. Now, the tour with UFO, Vinny? How about your tour, UFO?
Well, we've lost a lot of tours this year, unfortunately, and it's all going to start up again next year. So, you know, it's kind of sad because I was really looking forward to all these good shows we had, but, you know, hopefully everything happens next year and we'll get back on the road. I'll do some other things for now. I think everybody is in the same situation, you know, it's just not great for anyone.
Okay. Here.
Yeah, because the situation in the US, I think, is very bad. Yeah, now it's getting better now.
Well, it got better, and now it seems to be getting worse again. So I don't know.
Yeah,
And it's so difficult that you hear such contradictory information. First,
Yeah.
you hear the mask won't help you, and then you hear you have to wear a mask; it will help you. So many things are back and forth that nobody knows what to do all the time.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
What do you?
Sure.
I say stay at home and play drums.
Yes. Okay, so I think that we just time for one of two answer and question. Sorry, question. And what is your if you have to suggest something at the beginner, okay, a man and a guy that wants to play the guitar now, and what is the thing that you recommended to him to do?
Well, I would say find a good teacher to help you because, you know, taking lessons with somebody who already knows how to play is going to get you from point A to point B a lot quicker than just on your own. I would say listen to lots of different styles of music because you learn from that, and just love what you're doing and have fun with it. And, you know, if it's not fun and you don't love it, you don't have the passion, then find something else that you love doing.
Yeah.
Cool suggestion. Yeah.
Always go with the heart, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so Vinny, thanks for the time that you give to us. And,
Thank you. Great talking to you guys. Ragazzi.
Grazie Robby pure a te per essere intervenuto.
Bellissimi. Grazie a voi.
Was a great pleasure and great honor to have you.
Yeah, really.
We have the last video that Vincenzo, the guy that organized this live direct.
Hey.
Ciao Vincenzo.
Hi guys.
Ciao Vincenzo, grande.
And he's the song that he recorded was The Maids. So the video of The Maids that we play in Lady Beer 2 years ago, I think. Ok, so quindi ragazzi, grazie a tutti voi che avete partecipato con le vostre domande, grazie a chi a chi rivedrà anche questa diretta, che chiaramente verrà salvata sui nostri social. Seguite le nostre pagine chiaramente per rimanere sempre in contatto con le nostre attività. Noi ringraziamo ancora una volta Vinnie, Roberto che è intervenuto, Vincenzo, un ringraziamento grandissimo a Vincenzo perché purtroppo noi non sappiamo fare no, queste cose non le sappiamo fare. Quindi ragazzi vi lasciamo con The Maids, suonata da noi, chiaramente da Vinnie, me, Roberto e Marco Polizzi nel 2018 all'Eddie Beer a Roma.
Thank you.
Un abbraccione.
Thank you, Vinnie.
Thanks guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you.
Thank you guys. See you, Vinnie.